Jaron and his father, Bozy Ennis, has came out recently on the video and says that Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr., we've been ready and we want them. Let's talk about it in this video. King Jr. got another video for y'all. So we had some interesting news on I believe it's YSM Boxing or something like that. It was on a great boxing channel. Go check them out as well, YSM Boxing. But Bozy Ennis was on the channel. They recently did an interview about the whole Terrence Crawford and Errol Spence Jr. situation, on how we can get that fight and stuff like that. Bozy Ennis says that my son has been ready. We're ready to take on the top dogs and stuff like that. Now, a lot of people say that Jaron Ennis hasn't fought anybody. Well, that is a fact. He hasn't fought anybody. We don't know who he has really fought. We know that he fought Sergey Lipinets and Thomas Delorme, the opponents that Terrence Crawford has fought. But Bozy Ennis, he's doing what he's doing. He's talking trash for his son, trying to get him the biggest fights possible. But Jaron Ennis still got to be able to build himself up as a fighter. He still got to fight some guys. Even though if he forces a mandatory position, he's not going to land the big fights, because Errol Spence Jr. says, look, I'll fight him, but I'm looking for the big fights at the moment. It's not going to be until 54. So I believe Errol Spence will fight Jaron Ennis. He ain't running or anything. I don't know with Terrence Crawford. Terrence Crawford says he's a great fighter, but Terrence Crawford ain't pushing for the big fights and stuff like that. I think Jaron Ennis is one special talent. I truly believe this guy is going to be the king of boxing someday. There's a couple other fighters I think that's going to be a king of boxing, but I think Jaron Ennis stand out in particular. And Bozy Ennis, he's just riding for his son. I believe Bozy Ennis is building his son up, training him as hard as he possibly can to prepare himself for Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford later on in the future, if those fights decide to come to fruition. But with that being said, guys, Jaron Ennis, he's been waiting to get his opportunity to fight Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. A lot of people was pressing Terrence Crawford to fight Jaron Ennis, since Terrence Crawford is sitting on the shelf, isn't doing nothing. They was like, look, why about you fight Jaron Ennis? And they're not gonna press for that fight because they don't want to mess up the money between Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. I'm thinking to myself, look, if Terrence Crawford fights Jaron Ennis and beat this kid, Terrence Crawford has proven that he is a bad man at 147, that he deserved to be on that pound for pound list. And if Terrence Crawford says, look, since everybody talking all this hype about Jaron Ennis, he says I can't switch orthodox to southpaw fluently. If Terrence Crawford, let's say that fight did happen, if Terrence Crawford beats Jaron Ennis, there is no doubt that Terrence Crawford is the pound for pound king, because Terrence Crawford has a style that can get you to the top. But Jaron Ennis feels like, look, he don't do what I do. It'll be one hell of a fight. But, Jaron Ennis, his father, Bozy Ennis, as well, they say, look, we've been ready for Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford. They've been hard on Terrence Crawford. Said, look, what you doing, Terrence Crawford? We can fight right now, But, Errol's trying to look. I'm looking to unify all these belts, looking for undisputed. We'll fight later on. But Bozy Ennis was on YSM Boxing. Y'all can go check him out. Just look up Bozy Ennis interviews. And he was saying stuff about his son and stuff like that, how we can get these fights going. But, guys, I'm not going to keep this video too long. With that being said, it is what it is. Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment. This is your boy King Jr. I'm out of here. Peace.